heavy thunderstorm raged outside. David, a 32-year-old traveler, was forced to pull over at an isolated roadside motel. The neon sign outside flickered, reading "No vacancy," but the manager had given him the keys to room 714 anyway. The room was small, smelling of old carpets and damp wood. David threw his bag on the bed. On the small wooden desk in the corner, there was a vintage Polaroid camera. Beside it, a handwritten note on a torn piece of paper. "Do not photograph the empty spaces." David chuckled, exhausted from the drive. He picked up the heavy camera. "Let's see if this thing still works," coasting. He aimed the camera at the empty armchair in the corner of the room and pressed the button. With a mechanical whir, the thick photo paper slid out. David shook it in the dim light, waiting for the image to develop. Slowly, the colors bled into the frame. There was the armchair, but it wasn't empty. Sitting in the chair was a tall, unnaturally pale figure. Its limbs were too long, its head tilted at a broken angle, and its eyes, hollow, pitch-black pits, were staring directly at the camera lens. David's breath hitched. He instantly dropped the photo and stared at the real armchair. It was completely empty. "It's just a double exposure, an old trick film." His hands were shaking.
"It's just a double exposure. Oh, nothing to worry about."
To prove his own mind wrong, he raised the camera again and aimed it at the locked motel door. The second photo slid out. David stared at it as it developed. The pale figure was no longer in the chair. In the photograph, the creature was standing right in front of the door, its long, bony fingers wrapped around the doorknob. It was blocking the exit. David quickly looked at the real door. Nothing. The room was perfectly still. Panic seized his chest. He grabbed his bag, ready to run. But if he opened the door, would he run right into that thing? He raised the camera and pointed it at the bathroom entrance. The third photo printed. The figure wasn't at the door anymore. In the photo, it was crawling out of the bathroom on all fours, its twisted neck craning upward, smiling with a mouth full of jagged, needle-like teeth. It was getting closer. David backed away until his back hit the wall. He looked at the rear of the camera. A small red dial showed the number of films left. 01. One flash left. Suddenly, the main light bulb above David flickered and popped. The room plunged into absolute pitch-black darkness. The only sound was the heavy rain hitting the window. David stood frozen against the wall. He couldn't even see his own hands. Then he heard it. The sound of bare, bony feet dragging across the old carpet. It was coming from the center of the room, moving towards him. The air grew freezing cold. A foul smell of rotting meat filled David's nostrils. He could hear heavy, wet breathing. It sounded like it was just inches away from his face. Driven by pure, blind terror, David raised the camera directly in front of him. He needed to see where it was. He needed the light of the flash. He pressed the button. For a fraction of a second, the blinding white light illuminated the room. The creature was standing right there. Its horrifying face was an inch away from David's, its jaws unhinged. The flash died. Darkness swallowed the room again. The final photo slid out of the camera. David's hands trembled violently as he took it. He stumbled backward toward the window, holding the photo up to the faint moonlight bleeding through the curtains. He waited for the image of the monster's face to appear, but as the photo developed, David's blood turned to ice. The photograph didn't show the monster. It showed the corner of the room where David was standing right now. And lying on the floor, in a pool of dark blood, was David's own body. His chest was torn open, and his face was frozen in an expression of unimaginable agony. David stared at his own death in the picture. From the darkness right beside his ear, a raspy, wet voice whispered, "Smile." The camera slipped from his hands and hit the floor. A sickening crunch echoed through the dark room, followed by a wet, tearing sound. And then, dead silence.